Hello, welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, is John Bernard.
Good morning. Good morning. If it's morning, in fact, where you are.
It is, and it's morning in Baltimore in The Wire season 4, because this is the education season, but it's also the beginning of the Carcetti administration.
Yeah, a new dawn, and the beginning of the Marlowe administration in a way.
Yes, and the end of the beginning for sure. But like, if there's any bloom on the rose, it's coming on. It's come off Marlowe pretty fast, and it's going to be coming off Carcetti as well.
Yes. Okay. So this is an interesting season of television, and it's an interesting position for The Wire to be in that it is kind of a little bit forced to rebuild itself after the end of the Barksdale era of the show, which it could have served as a series finale, and instead sort of serves as like the central act of a larger kind of 5-act structure, I guess, is what it ends up being, of course, with 5 seasons. But like, where do you go after you kind of ended your ostensible story?
Yeah, I guess that the big move here, the big bold move, which is kind of established from season 2, opening up the whole Doc storyline. In season 3 returned, introduced new characters and such. I guess it introduced the Carcetti Royce political storylines. That I think felt like more of an expansion of things we'd seen before with the, talking to the police commissioner and a lot in the earlier seasons, than just opening up a whole new, a whole new section of the Grand Theft Auto mini map when you get to a new act. Like, now we're in the ports. And now what season 4 does is introduce a whole new sort of main cast of characters the way that the ports did in these kids, these 8th grade boys and a couple of girls in supporting roles, but mainly these 4 boys that are the focus of the season. And in a just kind of phenomenally cocky move, like making 4 new characters who are that young so central, this deep into the show has no right working as well as this does.
No, of course not. This is, when you talk about this show in sort of like novelistic terms, and like, well, it's the panoply of Baltimore, and, it's the city is the main character, and all these things connect to each other. And that is sort of what is majestic and interesting and amazing about The Wire. This is kind of like the best example of that thing, specifically this season. The expansion of the scope at this exact moment, which the show has already kind of established that it is able to do, by including the Doc season and widening its scope every season. It has always been a show that can do this. Mm-hmm. And this is probably like the best, most confident moment of them actually doing it.
Well, I think the port thing is entirely successful as far as that goes.
Yes, it is.
The other thing I think that shows such amazing judgment in this is that coming off of season 3, moving into the city council and city hall, the mayoral race becoming part of it, that makes sense as an expansion pointed upwards. And you could see how, feeling like they were successful with that, the ambition would be to keep pointing things farther upward and see how, greater structures of power and kind of like, what about the state government? What about the federal government? How does that interact with everything? And what Simon and Burns have the good judgment to sort of shrink back down and look closer at the street at this point for the next perspective shift. And that keeps The Wire with its feet on the ground in, I think, ultimately really effective way.
Yeah. We've been seeing, the Corner Boys essentially for 3 seasons of the show at this point. And, there's plenty, they've spent a lot of time with them and gotten to know them. Bodie's right there. It continues to be a main character on the show. But we've never
he's
really...
a grizzled veteran at this point.
Yeah. We've never really kind of looked at where they're all coming from. The entire ecosystem there. We've just seen them on the corner, essentially. And it almost is like a shock to realize how much more is going on outside of our perspective already, which seemed so deep at this point.
I mean, the thing is, like, when we were introduced to Bodhi and Wallace and Poot in the first season, they weren't much older than the boys in this season.
No.
But this does feel like rewinding so much farther. I think just by acknowledging these kids are still in elementary school. They're still going to, like, those kids were all dropped out already. And, you know, fully into the game. And we're watching these kids get, you know, with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, get pulled all the way in to where we were introduced to Bodhi and Wallace back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing it feels like on the production side feels like kind of a creative flex is casting kids who are the actual appropriate age. Instead, like the normal Hollywood thing would be to hire 18-year-olds that can play down a couple of years because that just allows you to work them for longer hours and makes everything a lot easier on production. But The Wire is not a traditional Hollywood production and is not about doing the easy thing ever. So they do the hard things. They cast kids that are actually this age. And it's also a really difficult kind of risky age where they're physically changing really rapidly.
Yes, right. Uh-huh.
But the whole season is much more effective for that.
It must have been a real difficult thing to schedule all of this around the specific schedules that minors require for shooting. You know, there are very, very specific things you can and cannot do with them. There's many groups of them here. There's many individual scenes, so I guess you can kind of layer those around, you know. You can be shooting, okay, we're doing Nemond and Zenobia in class, and we're doing, you know, in one location, and then we're doing Randy in another location. You know, maybe they're doing something like that. I can't even imagine how difficult it would be.
Well, kind of, but also the way that the season is beat out is that it covers at least half of the school year.
Yeah.
And it is about watching these kids grow up, which puts more pressure on them to shoot sequentially to avoid like having growth spurts where you can't like.
Randy has a big one during the season for sure.
And Dookie gets one definitely between this season and next season. But that does. I don't know how aware of that they were at the time, but
yeah,
I know that around this time, you know, Lost was on the air at this time, and I'm sure they were very aware that they might have wished that they could sort of go back and shoot some pickup shots of Walt to do a flashback scene at some point, but they couldn't because the kid was 3 feet taller in the third season. It was in the second season.
I mean, I guess this is sort of a closed loop. We're going to see more of these characters, but they are growing, and it's built into their story that happens, so that's okay. You know, I guess that helps, but even still, like the difficulty.
Really, we're gonna see more of 2 of the 4 of them, of the main 4,
right?
And we'll see a cameo of 2 of them, but in the 5th season, but only 2 of the 4 are still series regulars next year. Mm-hmm. And they do. I mean, like they hit 4 home runs with the central 4 boys, but even like
Donut,
the other like Darnell and Zenobia, the other corner kids in the class are so naturalistic and affecting. You almost think like the trick is they just cast real kids, like who aren't actors, and put them in these heroic situations, and that does the whole job.
It doesn't. It's hard.
That's not it. Yes, the way you know that is because. This is where I feel bad about some things I'm going to say about somebody who's probably a perfectly nice person. But there's one kid, the kid who plays Sherrod, where I go, oh, okay, these other kids all just have it. And this one guy doesn't. And it's possible still to not have it and not completely ruin the scenes or the show. Mm-hmm. But you just kind of see him not being able to completely keep up with Andre Arroyo in the way that Michael and Randy and Dookie can all hold their own with any adult they're put in a scene with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible stuff, and it does. It extends to like not beyond just the main 4. You know who's great is that Little John. Is that what they call him? The
Kennard? What?
Little
Kevin.
Little Kevin. Yeah. Uh-huh. He's terrific.
He's pretty good. He's just
damn
right
fucking
away.
episode of the of his involvement in the story. He's amazing at it. So yeah, like top to bottom, that stuff's incredible. So much so you kind of just forget they're actors pretty early on.
Yeah.
In that good kind of TV way, which is really amazing with 12-year-olds. I
mean, I think the girl who plays Zenobia is really good.
Yes,
for a pretty small part.
Really
you'd have like this girl, her name is Crystal, the character who's just like the good kid at school that like helps out the teachers a couple of times.
Right.
She's they're helping the assistant principal set up before school starts. She takes Dookie's the extra clothes they give him that his family sells. But that's a very small part with just a couple of lines. But like, oh yeah, this somehow that's a familiar. That's the good girl. In a way that immediately makes sense to me in this public school environment that was very different than the, sort of private Catholic schooling that I got. But somehow I'm like, oh yeah, that's, of course, that girl's part of this ecosystem too. Even though we're not focusing on her.
I mean, that is one of the most impressive things too, is that you do say, okay, here's the 4 we're watching, but it's kind of like every single character here it is implied has the same kind of shit going down in some ways. They all have their own horrible run-ins that they're dealing with. They all have their own really difficult home life, their own dramas and stories. It's just like kind of a transference thing that's impressive, and it's why this is such one of the many. Well, I think not everyone agrees, but it is in contention for the best episode of the best TV show. Or best season episode? Of the best season of the best TV show, and that sort of generosity of perspective, I think, is a very big part of that. But that it's true of The Wire in general, but this season in particular, my God, it's impressive.
Yeah, and just to sort of be nailing that at all levels of the storytelling, all levels of the society that's being depicted, and I get to the point where maybe this is just completely having drank the Kool-Aid or whatever, like even having the one performance that I don't think is that good somehow just makes me like the rest of the show more. Like, yeah, like that.
It's the imperfection that kind of like reminds
throws into
me
relief. Yeah. No, everybody. It's not a coincidence. All these people are really that good. So, but here's something watching this that only occurred to me this time watching through.
Yeah.
And not if this was not hitting on all cylinders, then I think that there's a version of this season that still generally works, but makes me like more aware of like, are we starting to repeat ourselves a bit here with The Wire? Because
interesting, because this is like structurally the most dissimilar it's ever been. Like we're doing so many,
the point, but like I mean,
no, I know what you mean.
Like putting Bunny Colvin into the school system and Prez feels like such a big shake-up for them. But the pilot program that Colvin ends up running here is the same basic concept as Amsterdam. We're going to segregate the worst actors into one area where they can't screw things up for the crystals of the world, and see if we can't improve everybody's lot a bit that way. And it, kind of gets knocked down for the same reasons. The restaurant scene where he takes, Naaman and
what a scene.
Zenobia and Darnell out to a Roots Chris. One of the best scenes in the series. It's also a very close repeat of D'Angelo taking his girl out to a fancy restaurant in season 1.
I guess it is. That's
out of place. I mean,
wow.
And Randy recalls Wallace so much, like down to the braids, and getting targeted for snitching. And so, like, obviously, repetition and cycles of dysfunction, these are central thematic concerns of The Wire. So some measure of that repetition is necessary and inevitable, I would say. But with other shows, you get to these points a few seasons in, maybe, where the rhythms of the show are becoming overly familiar. And we talked about this kind of previously. A show as thematically rigorous as The Wire is, it really doesn't come any more theme-driven in terms of stories than The Wire.
No.
But that starts to put a straitjacket on the plot lines and how they can play out. And that jacket just gets tighter over time, I feel like. And maybe that's something to put a pin in for season 5.
It's a fair point. I don't think it's an issue because they are changing up so much along the way. Like McNulty has been pretty much, in lieu of a true protagonist, sort of the central linchpin, just structurally of seasons. Not at all here. He's barely in it. If there is one actor doing that, and there's not really, the closest you get is probably Prez and Bunny Colvin. just because their proximity to the schools, I suppose, or maybe Carcetti. They're not really hung up on that. I mean, we have our our South Park team here at the center of it. It's crazy. I don't think they ever actually did a South Park season or episode making fun of this season, but they really should have. Maybe it's just too hard.
No, I mean, Kenny is definitely the Dookie, and Naaman is the Cartman. And yeah,
but it is such a high wire act to change your cast up so completely and your setting. And yes, I mean, we're exploring the same ideas, obviously. If you've seen the first 3 seasons of The Wire, you kind of have a sense of like, we're going to see how the system fails all these kids now, I guess. That is a thing. Yeah. But it has to be that. There's no way for it not to be that. And it obviously the schools are a very important part of the full picture here. I mean, it seems like the only thing they could do is come here at this point.
Yeah. I mean, once you see it, it's so not obvious coming out of season 3 that this is where it has to go next.
Right.
And then you're like, but now it's so impossible to think of The Wire without thinking of these elements and these characters as part of the tapestry. Even though these, Michael and Dookie are big pieces of the fabric of The Wire that aren't introduced until the back third of the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're well past the halfway point. And it's still expanding. It's something that's exciting too. I think it's just that the show, when it feels like it's expanding, it's still invigorating and exciting. And that's something I think a lot of shows struggle with, is that there comes a point where you kind of get a sense for a long-running series, we're done with the expansion process, and it's about contracting down to the ending. And that's when people start really turning on Game of Thrones.
Yes.
It's where things start to feel a little hinky for me with Breaking Bad. It's, just knowing, like, and so sometimes the peak comes closer to the middle, where you're starting to have, like, storylines that have been developing for a long time, climaxing and paying off. But there's still this energy of, but also we can introduce new elements, and we can, we're setting up new things for the end. And then once there's something there that I think at least in my deformed TV viewing brain, when I feel that we are no longer introducing new things and we're just resolving old business, I don't know, the pressure on those resolutions gets higher. And the only show I can think of that really navigates that completely cleanly all the way to the end would be The Shield.
Yeah. Even that has, there's a little bit of stalling.
Yeah, I guess some of when they're introducing new villains in season 6 and 7, I'm not interested in these people anymore. It's all about the internal strike team stuff.
But for the most part, yeah, it's pretty impressive stuff. It's hard to do. I'm almost like I'm kind of trying to think, like, is there another show that's introduced like a new cast and kind of new environment this late in? Friday Night Lights kind of did a thing like this.
That's true. Yes, yeah. Friday Night Lights did a reboot with Michael B. Jordan, and as the new center of it,
pretty successfully,
very successfully.
Yeah, But that's like it. I can't think of anything else that pulled this particular trick off. At all.
Well, I mean,
it's hard. You wouldn't even normally do this, I guess. This is a tough one to find yourself in a place to implement anyway.
Well, we started doing anthologies and spin-offs and stuff.
The Expanse does something like this, right?
That's interesting to look at. It does maintain, well, The Wire maintains its core cast too. But it feels different in a way that I'm struggling to. I guess it's just because it's pulpier and it's a little clearer who the main characters are all the way through. That it's kind of shuffling around supporting casts, and these kids feel like the main cast of this season. Like they have supplanted Major Crimes as the protagonists who are driving the story. Well,
they're rarely driving their own stories, sadly.
Yeah, that's not exactly. Yeah, well, we talk about that too. That sometimes antagonists do more to drive the plot, really, than the protagonists, anyway, in a lot of different stories. But we are definitely emotionally embedded with Randy and Michael more than we are with Lester and Daniels and Bunk.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of Bunk this season, fortunately, but even still, yes, of course. Good bump season.
Yeah. The other one. Okay, I'm trying to think. Again, maybe this is.
Well, Carcetti's another.
I'll save some of this for season 5, I guess.
Okay,
the
sure.
whole like series finale, wind down type of thing. But the fact that we have passed the climax of this series, but we're still opening up new storylines, and those don't feel tossed off. They don't feel lesser than the Barksdale material is an incredible narrative feat.
It certainly is. Everything they're doing here, it feels so incredibly right. It's easy to forget how little of this would have, like, if you went back even just one season, and it almost makes no sense how much time we're spending with. If you ignore the third season, I guess, like, there's almost no connective tissue. Like, we're talking about Carcetti and the kids in school. I think it's shocking that Prez ends up being such a big part of this season.
And in the role that you just would not have pegged him for at all. I guess that's what I think is for all that. I'm saying we're getting to the point where repetition becomes a threat. They're so good at shuffling things around there. Getting McNulty off the center stage and putting Prez in this new environment where you wouldn't expect him to be. Even things like the shakeups of closing down major crimes at the beginning of the season, only to reopen it at the end. Like that could feel. One, just starting major crimes like the rise and fall and re-rise and fall again of it throughout the seasons. When you look at it from a 10,000-foot view, it looks kind of formulaic. That
it's like, we had to close the X-Files in between seasons or whatever, a little.
Right. Like season 2 is spends more half its time getting the band back together, and then by the end of the season, you're like, okay, now we're gonna keep it around permanently, right? And it's only around permanently for one season, where it starts open and ends, as a going concern. And then season 4, it very rapidly gets shut down, and then in the finale, it's like, well, we have to create. We found all these bodies. We're going to need something akin to it again. Whatever it's called, they do keep the major crimes name. I don't know. In a different type of show, it could feel like, it's just they have to keep running through this cycle over and over again. But I think actually shutting down major crimes at the beginning of this season is part of what makes it feel like, destabilizing, new and exciting, and not just more. We're going through the same paces again.
Yeah, and I mean, it has narrative reasons. There's a lot of good things that happen because of that. This isn't necessarily correct. I mean, you certainly could have written it any way you wanted, but it feels like the Marlowe dynasty kind of only really has an opportunity to grow because no one's watching. Which is not unlike what was going on in season 3. It was I guess they were the Barksdales were distracted by Marlowe, which led to their ruin by other means, I guess. So it's always about something grows in the dark, I guess, is sort of the recurring thing there, maybe. But yeah,
it's kind of easy to mythologize the Barksdales as being they. Like, especially once Marlowe's in charge, to romanticize as, well, they kind of came up the right way in some way, or they worked hard, they had the discipline, whatever. But it's more, no, there was no major crimes. There was no detail. They were also benefiting from neglect of any type of that high-end police work being done. And then I guess at the end of season 3, it's not really like the season 3 finale doesn't really present it as, major crimes is taking some major hits here, but McNulty, Daniels, Prez all move on or out of there, and that's taking a lot of the lifeblood out of it. I mean, you still have Lester, who's the brains of the operation, and Kima.
That's it, though. Basically,
who's the most competent? Yeah. Well, it's Singer. Let's not. Yeah. But I mean, it's.
Well, they do introduce
it's amazing.
They do introduce a police academy villain to come in and.
One of the purest villains. I like how even though like Rawls, who's deploying him as a weapon, is like cackling at what a villain is like. Oh yeah, this guy sucks. He's my cooler to come in and ice this table.
You could make an incredible Police Academy villain squad here between Valchek and Marymount. Yeah, that'd be terrific.
Can I ask you? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do kind of for this to be the best season of The Wire, even though like I said it's starting to show us things we've kind of seen before in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
How does it get there? And I would posit here's some of the ways. This best season for all these like characters. For Prez,
season. No doubt, of course.
Mm-hmm. I would say the best season for Bodhi, even though he doesn't have much screen time since the Barksdales have been pushed to the margins.
It's this or one for Bodhi. Yeah, I mean he's pretty memorable here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but in one, he's kind of the villain of Wallace's storyline.
That's true. That's true.
There, he is the hero of his storyline.
Mm-hmm. I suppose so. I mean, it's, we've talked about the Wallace scene. It's one of the best scenes in The Wire and one of the defining scenes. So any plot line that involves that, I think you got to consider. And it's kind of crazy.
The worst.
It's kind of crazy how intense, despite that moment is, how on Bodhi's side we remain through 4 years.
What's the price like? Yeah, Bodhi's death ended up hitting me harder, I think, in the moment when it aired than Wallace's death had. And that probably has to do with some circumstances of like watching it on a DVD set was not the same as having season 4, watching week to week and was on,
right.
And
it's the big death of the finale is Bodhi. Yeah. This is not really a show that goes in on, I don't know. I feel like back at the time, we were kind of just like, ooh, who's going to die each season, as we did with The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and all the others. I think this still is playing in that, I guess.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So this is
I do want to talk about
the
finale, stuff about finales in a minute. But
of course.
Okay. This best season for Clay Davis? I think so. Although he gets kind of a spotlight when he goes on trial next year.
I enjoy Clay Davis in all seasons. He's really good here. Or three, with his manipulating of Stringer Bell. That's good stuff. But
that is good. He's a character where having seen him run his game a couple times now somehow makes it more enjoyable this time through, rather than less. And it might be because the stakes are a little bit lower somehow. Like he's not gonna get Carcetti murdered.
No,
by running these games the way he kind of does with Stringer.
Yeah.
So we could be angrier at him in a way for running a game on Stringer, where it's also so transparent, both to Carcetti and to us as viewers now, what his games are, that it's just kind of, I don't know, mess arounds.
I love when he shows up after Carcetti wins, and Carcetti's like, "What? Are you on my side now?" He's just like, "Shit, man, I did you a favor. Yeah,
could have had you for 30."
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
This is the best Carcetti season.
It's definitely the best Carcetti.
Yeah. So and apparently,
it is also benefited so much that Carcetti gets to have some of these scenes with Reggie Cathy. My God, he's so good in this season. One of my favorite performances of the whole year.
Just love his voice.
Yeah.
So apparently, Simon, coming out of season 3, not being clear if the Wire was going to be renewed for season 4, also put together like a pitch for a spin-off that was just about like City Hall, just the politics angle. And I think that's where you get the Reggie Cathy character, like the expanded Clay Davis role, and some of the other people. All of a sudden, there's a random white guy in a suit giving him advice for how he's going to be governor in 2 years. It kind of pops out of the direction. I think basically, his pitch for a season of that show got compressed into like 6 episodes of this B or C story of this season, which becomes the mayoral race. But that's the best political stuff, is when the race is actually on.
Oh yeah, totally. Seeing those guys, actually like going at each other. This actually, I mean, we've talked about Game of Thrones in the context of The Wire. The mayoral candidate stuff really plays like Game of Thrones for me. It has a lot of that. It's about power, who believes who has power when, like people seeing weakness in each other and exploiting it. The way Burrell handles his run in this episode is really great. Like, it's really interesting, and a lot more cutthroat and kind of high stakes than these characters usually are. That it's just kind of the most conventionally fun stuff in the season, actually.
And it's also just, it's done with a journalistic eye too, so it never loses sight of but this is not really the big leagues they're playing in, and this is big deal local politics, but they're still riding around in one SUV.
Right.
They're scrambling for a few $1,000s at a time to finance these races.
It's the sort of stuff that feels authentic. Like, you would need somebody who did what Simon did, essentially, or to even know how to write these scenes, or like the amount of time spent on fundraising, et cetera, and what that looks like. All this kind of stuff is this is that good reportage stuff as well. It's not
that's someone's
Orange
name
is Game of Thrones, but it's.
No, but you need someone for that, and they do have a version of that. His name is Bill Zorzi, and he was one of Simon's coworkers at the Baltimore Sun when Simon was on the crime beat. He was on the politics beat, and he brought him in for, I think, season 3 to really shore up this stuff and make sure that they were getting all that stuff right.
It also has the sort of that interconnected nature of The Wire is really being well utilized here. And moments arising organically that seem like they, that have a Rube Goldberg kind of satisfaction when they pop into place. Like the reason Burrell survives his thing, when they're trying to get Burrell they're trying to fire Burrell in the new administration, and the reason he survives is because Herc pissed off Bubbles by not answering a phone. Bubbles decides to get revenge by calling in a minister's license plate, which then Herc oversells and insults the ministers, which have the ear of Royce. So they come in. Royce now has to spend, now Carcetti has to spend political capital on the bishops that he didn't want to, which makes him unable to fire Burrell. It's just awesome. That stuff is great.
That is such a perfect example of how good The Wire is at showing how all the levels of the city connect.
Yeah.
All the pieces matter in the show's parlance. And that Bubbles' spite towards Herc reverberates up to the point that it saves Burrell's job and affects Carcetti's entire incoming administration. And that is something that Game of Thrones could do too, when it was, at its peak. And I think core to what storytelling is all about, really, is causality. My big unified theory of storytelling and why human brains are wired for stories to the point where we impose them onto, inanimate objects that don't necessarily warrant them, is because stories are what allow us to understand change and how things could be one way today when they were a different way yesterday. And I think what that means we want from stories more than anything else is a sense of this happened now because that thing happened before. The Wire is such compelling storytelling because it draws connections between causes and effects on different levels of society that generally don't interact directly that much. And it presents this really complete ecosystem where we as the audience can see these ripples moving out in a way that's hard for us to even see in the real world. In fact, you're a highly educated local news junkie. You're not necessarily going to be able to follow how this junkie's bad day on the street wound up getting the mayor to change his choice of police commissioner a week later.
It's so great. It's so. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit. That's the. I don't know. We talk about the reportage angle, how this feels so authentic, and we also talk about how this feels so composed and elegantly constructed. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of amazing. Maybe the most amazing part is that those two things exist right next to each other, like that they are reinforcing one another rather than in conflict. I think if you do those wrong, they feel like they're hurting each other. Any sort of cleverness or composed nature to your writing just sort of makes it feel less true, less real. Not the case.
This could feel so composed.
Yeah.
If it didn't have every detail right. I think back to that scene in the first season where they're doing sort of the wardrobe fitting for Sidner to go out on the street with Bubbles undercover, and he's sort of like, no, you got to get the details of the vials, the broken vials in the bottom of your shoe right,
Right.
and because if you don't get that right, it doesn't sell the whole picture. It's got to be naturalistic in order for this, Sidner's contrived performance as a junkie to play.
Good stuff. Yeah. So that's all. Always been here for The Wire, but it feels like this is the season when, in many ways, this is the season when it does the most Wire stuff, really. Like, the things that are great about the show are maybe on display most prominently here. Maybe? I don't know.
Well, okay, so continuing with the best stuff, this is the best Herc season, right?
Yeah, best Herc season.
Definitely. We just got into how, like, his storyline. Mm-hmm. It's infuriating to watch it all play out. It's not the best for him as a character.
No, it's the worst for him as a character.
Yes.
As an actor, probably the best he's had. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The best material that Dominic Lombardozzi has gotten. But yes, her character has never been more unlikable. Mm-hmm. But yeah, from the blowjob stuff with the mayor down to, being taken down by Bubbles ultimately and he's taken down by his own incompetence and sloppiness more than anything. But it's all place, and how kind of lost, and what a bull in a china shop he becomes when he's not doesn't have proper adult supervision from at least a Carver, if not a Daniels or a Freeman.
Yeah, they know these characters so well. So, you take away like this guy's safety ropes, like take away the things that were keeping him in line, and he's going to suck. He's going to blow it. That's just kind of knowing who this guy is. After watching him at work for 3 years under supervision. Like, of course. And of course that changes plans for other people as a result. Like there is a price to him not having supervision for everybody. That's kind of like everyone has their own little path that makes sense after like as an aftermath season, as a season like, okay, the big thing happened, we had our ostensible resolution, Barksdale's went away, major crimes went away. So we're in kind of a rebuilding state. Everyone finds themselves in a new spot. Every single one of those new spots and how they are reacting to it seems so intelligently considered. Like it really, really smartly composed and thought up. Like the Prez thing is the most obvious one. Like the way they use him is, that must have been planned from the start. But even still, it's so great, so brilliant. But it's everyone. Everyone ends up in a place that makes sense. Even McNulty. Which I assume he must have been like shooting something, and they got a deal for him to work less or something this year. But
I think he was done shooting 300 at this point. But he was on the short list. He was busy losing out to Daniel Craig to be the next James Bond.
Okay, fair enough.
And so I think the idea was if he got that, he was not going to be available for part of this season and probably the next one. So they were kind of keeping one foot in, one foot out.
But it's masterfully done. It's really well handled. Despite, I guess the only real impact he has on the season is getting Bodhi killed.
But that is big.
It's pretty big, yeah. But I like where he landed, that he's with Amy Ryan, all that stuff, real good. And speaking of which, I forgot how much Gone Baby Gone is happening this season as well.
Oh yeah, there's some bad moms in this season. If there's one thing, like the sort of domestic tranquility and bliss with Beatty Russell, feels ladled on a little bit thick here.
Well, we're not seeing it all for sure. I'm very conscious of that.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I like part of it being because they didn't have Dominic West for very long, that they shot several scenes of him being just a good boy who's happy in his sobriety and all, in a way that is like they're not adding a ton. They sprinkled them throughout the season, but like the one in episode 8 doesn't really add anything. The one episode 6 didn't. I'm fine. I'm really stretching to find nits to pick here, but
the scene with him and Bunk is so good too, though. Like it's one of the few like scenes he has, and it's excellent. Where they're talking about lake trout or whatever the Are you sure you're happy? Because you don't seem like that'd be happy here. Okay, if you say so. I like that very much.
The scenes of Bunk just drunkenly pining after not having like how Lester's not as good of a drinking buddy as Jimmy was are great.
I would contend that this might be Bunk's best season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hard one to pin down because he doesn't generally have, a season arc that
he's closest to one really here, maybe.
Yeah, he gets to tutor Greg's, which is nice. He gets to be, I probably would give it to this because with Major Crimes on the Rocks and McNulty off stage, there's just more of the general homicide detective stuff is done through him than in other seasons.
He's sticking his neck out for Omar and pissing other people off. That's all good stuff, all good Bunk material, and it feels in character the way that Wendell Pierce plays it. So and he's just funny again. He's always just one of the funniest characters, and he still is here. So yeah, I think this might be the best Bunk season. Must be the most Bunk screen time probably.
That's what I was saying. It probably is. Yeah. Okay, so the last, I guess there's two, or one before we get to the last one then. Best Prop Joe season. This really cemented Prop Joe, and Robert Chu is one of my favorite performances on the show.
Yeah, he's great.
It's also on a meta level. It's great. He was acted as an acting coach to the main kids. So great, Robert Chu's best season overall for sure. But just now without the Barksdales, seeing him sort of trying to civilize Marlo and doing the voices on the phone with her, explaining to him, well, you take that camera, and if they don't say anything, it's up at the higher level because the city's too broke for them not to come around crying about it. And he's just, talk about a Game of Thrones figure. He would be at home on a small council.
He's great, and really kind of another thing that he really kind of clarifies and brings into sharp focus this season, I think, is that a lot of it is about mentorship. A lot of it is kind of sharing what you know with a younger generation. And he's kind of finds himself forced into that role with Marlo, trying to get the Marlo situation under control. And, we kind of see him. The extent to which we have any sympathy from Marlo, I think, is based on, well, is he going to listen to what Prop Joe says? It's interesting that you find yourself kind of hoping that they get their shit together here a little bit. Maybe I don't know if that's even the right word, but you're rooting for Prop Joe to make an impact on him in some way, which is impressive.
Right. And it's interesting how the mentorship on the street level there is the downfall. I mean, his big mistake here is allowing Marlo to meet the Creeks. That's going to haunt him next year. And in every other aspect of the show, mentorship is an important and good thing only.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could say Naaman's mom has certain ideas about how she wants him to grow up. There's bad mentorship here too.
I suppose so. I guess I think motherhood is a little separate from mentorship, but
I guess so. Sure. Yeah,
but she is trying to be more of his street mentor than his mother. That is the problem there.
Yeah. Oh, those scenes are almost playing like there's almost a comic element to how awful they are. Yeah. Which is a little odd, like for this show, that those scenes are almost like something out of "Don't Be a Menace" to South Central. You're drinking your juice, and
okay. All right, fine. So is this the best Weebay season on the basis of like two scenes in the finale? The best season for Weebay on he's got so much more screen time in season one.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a tough one because these are really. I
talked about season one, how much more I enjoy him on retroactively because of the two scenes in the finale here that make me think about a character entirely differently.
It's nice that they were able to get that actor back. That creating Naaman. Naaman is sort of a massive success as a character, top to bottom. But one of the great things is being able to bring back the Weebay actor and give him some interesting material. by making him Naaman's father. I think that was kind of a masterstroke in general. And the actor coming back is so exciting and welcome at this point. So yeah, I think that is a defensible position. That this is the best Weebay season.
Okay, so the last one was my contention would be this is the best Omar season.
I think that might be true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a weird way,
the thing that I was sort of getting a little like, I don't know if annoyed is right because I know how the story ends, but when it starts to set him up as sort of a Robin Hood figure for the audience, mm-hmm. I get what they're doing is not that exactly. It's kind of fucking with us, frankly. But like it is setting Omar up as the guy who's going to solve this whole Marlowe problem, especially early on, and that's I not as comfortable with that, but I guess knowing where how they actually resolve that story changes things a little. I don't know. I do love him best when he's fucking with Prop Joe. That's just good stuff.
Oh yeah, they're some of the best people to play off of. In a way that it becomes. Well, I guess the argument for why this would not be the best Omar season is because it's like the only season where he is not on a sort of righteous revenge mission that gives him.
Well, that's what's kind of good about it, really.
Yes, I think that lets it stand out.
Yeah,
and it becomes one, the part where he gets set up and sent to prison is just here, a new environment for Omar. How exciting and refreshing is that for season in, where he has to it puts him on his heels in a way we haven't seen exactly before.
Yeah,
he got shot in the first season. He's still in his milieu there. And so that's just seeing new stuff from him is mainly what I like about it here, and I like the prison stuff for the bit that lasts. But then once he's out, he's just fucking around with Prop Joe in a way that he can believably have scenes with Prop Joe in a way that he couldn't have very many face-to-face scenes with Stringer. Can't really have with Marlowe or Avon, because he hates them too much. He kind of likes Prop Joe, right. Is what allows that dynamic to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's true. It's tough necessarily to get Omar in a scene with any of your other big guys. There's always a bit of a reason he wouldn't be there, whether it's a cop or another drug lord character. There's generally speaking. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's before you can realistically put all these characters in a scene together. So that limits Omar sometimes, I think. Just that as a character, there's not too many people he can be around. But all the stuff with him this year is kind of finds a way to make a virtue of that. Or again, it's Prop Joe, and they solve those problems and make the scene happen.
I think those are the ways. Largely, this becomes the best of the series.
Here's my question, though. There's one name we didn't mention there. Is this the best Bunny Colvin season? And that's a tough one, I think.
I kind of know, just because he is so central to the A plot of the third season.
I mean, it's
the entire third season rests on his back, and he is, maybe the C plot of this season.
Yeah, but it's a great season for him nonetheless. It is. It's excellent storytelling. It's great stuff. I love seeing those scenes. Again, that cast is of young kids. Some of the best material that they get. The young cast that is in the special courses with Bunny, and I love the guy that the guy from the state who's basically Bunny's scene partner. The guy who
the academic guy, or
the academic guy. It's a nice foil for him, I think. But I buy what happens at the end. I think it's pretty interesting and pretty great, and one of the few oh God, something actually worked out moments in The Wire, which you get so rarely. And
you mean what happens with Naaman, not with the program?
Yeah. Not, of course, the program fails. That's The Wire, but the Naaman thing is nice, and I mean a rare win for order and people's lives getting better. Yeah.
This is something too, though, that I think is really, really well done here. We get these 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
And of those 4 kids, we get 3 basically tragedies and 1 happy ending.
Yeah.
Which I think is important. I think four tragedies would be crushing. And like in a way, like the show can be crushing in a good way, but like too much to take. And
yeah, I think
more than one would feel like a betrayal of the Wire ethos.
Yeah, but you need that one, and for if no reason other than authenticity. You know,
yes,
it can't just be entirely doom and gloom. There has to be some people have to be okay, or it wouldn't continue. I guess it's necessary.
Yes, there would be nobody living in these places in these streets anymore if they were all dead by the end of season.
And 25% sounds like about the right success rate. Maybe a little high, but it's about that. Yeah.
But I think it's also so crucial that it's Namond that gets the happy ending because he is so plainly the least deserving of them. And like Michael, is the number 1 draft pick of this class. Like everybody's board. Marlowe's trying to recruit him, and Cuddy's trying to recruit him, and Prez trying to drop him into this class more. Everybody wants more Michael. Everybody sees the potential there. And if Michael had been the one who got the happy ending, it would feel like, oh well, of course, because he's got the most the talent and the drive and the ethics that the other kids lack, and that's what drew him out of there. If it was Randy that got the happy ending, well, he's got the business acumen and the smarts, and he applies himself, and it's about virtue being rewarded. And if it's Dookie, it's sentimental. And no, it's Damon. He plainly has. I mean, not that he's dumb, but he's the least virtuous of them. And by far the least, had the most advantages of all of them at the outset. I
suppose. I mean, he is Weebay's kid. His parents
were
a pretty big disadvantage. Yeah. Well, I guess there's that way of looking at it. But yeah, like
compared to Dookie's parents, though, or
sure, yeah.
Michael's mother let him be molested.
Who's got the worst home life is a really good question here. It's not as obvious as it seems. Like you think, well, you've seen Naaman's mom, you think it's that simple, but it's not. It really could be any of them.
Dookie doesn't even have a home at the time, and yet Michael's situation is actually probably the worst. But you factor in the sexual abuse,
probably, yes. So it's tough. But yeah, I mean, Namond is also kind of in possession of, I don't know. He's charming, I guess. He's likable. Like he's a bit more at ease in himself than everyone else.
Except for his mom's leaning on him.
Well, sure. But like, I'm kind of on his side early on. I think in the first season he's kind of a bully, really, but he has that moment when they're throwing piss water balloons, and Naaman's breaks on him, and he laughs it off and just says, "Ha! I pissed myself." And I was just like, "Oh, I wouldn't have been able to do that."
I don't think he laughed. I think he panicked.
Well, then he runs away. Yes, but that endeared me to him.
I think what's interesting about that is that Naaman does have a charm to him. But you can you get the vibe, and Colvin's telling Weebay this in so many words, that it's a type of charm that's going to get him killed if he's trying to play a gangster.
Yes, it does.
Whereas if they can just put him into a different classroom, it can be put to uses that will be much more productive for him.
That's a good way of putting it. A charm that is going to get him killed as a gangster. Yeah. Man, I don't know. This kid is doing like Steve Martin impersonations, man. You can't. He's not going to pull that out there.
I'll say this about the Colvin special program.
Yeah.
I was less impressed with it this time through as an ingenious innovation. Anyway.
They're not doing too much there, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like the critiques that they're offering there is, this is pure tracking, which, the idea that you separate the dumb kids from the smart kids, and then that helps that the dumb kids don't slow the smart kid down anymore. That's a bad word in educational circles because it is I think reasonable critique there is that you're just giving up on a bunch of kids really early on.
It's what it looks like. Yeah, that's what it looks like from the outside.
Really, what it is. And it turns out like this, the corner kids do better in their class too. So it's like, oh, it's all upsides. But like, I don't know if it's really so much about segregating these kids and that kids, and more as an adult and now married to an educator, has more perspective on education. Like, I think what just mainly reflects is when you brought some more teachers or teacher figures in, and now you lowered the class size, and lower class sizes makes an enormous difference on both ends. Those kids got more individual attention, and that was good. And it's like, that kind of holds true, I think, almost independent of a lot of the curriculum that you're applying.
That makes sense, certainly. Yeah, you don't get a sense of what they're really doing in there that is helpful, and I mean that's why it seems like every time there's they have to defend the program, they kind of fall back on, well, it's improving the other kids' situations too, is the thing. Like, these kids weren't getting better already, so now we're just trying to help the others, which is not a great argument. It's true.
No, but it's also in Prez's classroom, he's making progress by mixing up things up and trying to reach kids at their level. All to the good, sure. But I think it's also more reflective of, you have more freedom to do that, the less students you have to wrangle. And it's less about, if we could just rearrange the classroom or the curriculum a bit. And then like, no, you need more resources to have more teachers. And then all those teachers will be more effective. I think is what a lot of this boils down to me.
I want to talk briefly about Prez here, which I think everyone would agree is it's an incredible move for this character. It seems like they planned this in advance. They must have, I guess, but it's quite brilliant and a way to get eyes in the classroom, essentially, from a character we already knew in a way that makes sense contextually and is good. I feel like this often is referred to as sort of a redemption arc for Prez. And I suppose it is, but is he not more just sort of, I mean, I guess he's doing good things, but is he not kind of just a witness to the decline as we are, essentially? Our perspective into this? Does he actually do much? Is my question, beyond what every other teacher there is doing, their best. And does that alone count as a redemption arc?
The point is that that's plenty heroic, really.
Yeah.
Those teachers, I mean, I'm sure some are better than others in the brief glimpses we get them. Miss Sampson seems to be the most effective by far.
Right.
But
it's pretty, it doesn't really shit on the teachers at all this season.
No.
There's nothing bad to say about the teachers. And
it's got a lot bad to say about standardized tests.
Sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think that comes to they really wanted to underline the parallel between that and the crime stats and how it lends itself to juking them and all of that. But again, I think ultimately the real villain from my perspective is the deprivation. I don't think standardized tests are the worst thing in the world. I just think when they're a substitute for putting actual money into a school system, it's all you're trying to dodge the fact, come up with reasons other than we didn't put money into this that made this system, the school fail.
Yeah, I mean, they really, I don't want to say they reduce it to the standardized tests is the problem, but they certainly underline what a problem, teaching to the test is, as they would say here. It's a little, honestly,
I don't think this throwing out the tests would lead to much of an uptick in the students' actual education, although this season makes a case that it would help at least a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly does. And it becomes a little straightforward there. I don't think it's a problem exactly because, there's obviously so much other things going on, and the world outside of school itself for these kids is so well drawn. What they're coming home to, all that sort of thing. So it becomes, you can kind of fill in the blanks a little bit. I for being a season that is ostensibly, the education one, I think that, the things they're actually talking about within the education system are not really the most impressive things going on. It's about the entirety of youth, where these kids are and where they live, and the pressures outside of school that are driving them as well is so well drawn that it feels it. But yeah, I mean,
the parallels to how they're being educated outside of the school by Chris Partlow and how running his assassin academy, and Snoop being educated by the salesman in the opening scene and actually proving to be a good pupil is an interesting thing there. Like that's the parallels are more interesting, I think, in this rewatch anyway, than the direct critiques of the school system.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I mean, it's just
tend to
part of the
check off a
city.
lot of it by 10. Yeah, like what are these teachers supposed to do? But they're given nothing and told to spin gold out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just part of the city of Baltimore at this point. So I mean, we can kind of fill in the blanks on our own. Actually, having watched 3 seasons going into this.
Okay, so let me talk to you about finales a bit here, because I would make the case this is the best season finale that the series ever did. And I think that also reflects how astute Simon is getting about finding ways to tweak the structure of the show without betraying the core or the nothing ever changes ethos is so central to what the show is. Like I said, finding these ways to play around with the structure, to disband major crimes at a time that surprises us and all that goes such a long way to keeping us on our toes. And so this season finale, I feel like, is more eventful than any of the other season finales. Because it's the one that it bucks the trend of the big tragic death comes in the penultimate episode.
Right.
And then the finale is kind of fallout. And I feel like that conceit, the second to last episode being the one with the big death, was becoming codified among like TV critics and message board fans around now as that's the thing that HBO series, the Prestige series, became known for in certain circles.
Yes.
And I feel like that persists to this day. And I really think I don't know that it applied outside of The Wire that much. The Wire does it for the first 3 seasons, really.
Mm-hmm.
What it goes, Wallace, Sabatka, Stringer all get got at the end of the second to last episode. Spoilers for season 5. If the big death there is Omar, that actually comes, I believe, episode 8 out of 10 instead of 9.
Right.
And this one, the end of the second to last episode here is devastating because it's where Randy's foster mother is hospitalized and he's like, Harvard's doing his haunted walk down there. But the big death would be Bodhi, and that's in the finale here.
Yeah.
And so The Wire and The Sopranos have both kind of done some of that. By my count, getting really granular here, The Sopranos did it twice. Maybe, I guess. So it definitely did it in Sopranos' second season. And the 5th season kind of has a big death in both of the last 2 episodes.
When's Adriana?
That's second to last.
Okay.
So that one ultimately, I think, hangs over the series more than
Blundetto?
Yeah. But that's a big, culmination of that series arc. That seasonal arc is about him more than it's her, really. And then you have Game of Thrones kind of did this twice too.
Certainly.
We're getting more specific spoilers here, but the first and third seasons there end with giant tragic deaths that don't happen in the finales are kind of, the aftermath episodes there. But then seasons 2 and 4 of Game of Thrones had giant battle episodes in the second to last slot. So I guess that still counts as the fireworks. But the other big show, Breaking Bad did not follow that pattern. Deadwood, Shield, Dexter, Boardwalk Empire, like the other big anti-hero shows, none of them really did that. But it still seems to persist as this HBO signature thing.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess that is Wire specific.
But season 4 bucks that trend, even within the context of just The Wire. Which, again, finding ways to keep us on our toes, even though, like I said, well, of course the program's going to be shut down. It's The Wire. Like, we know how that stuff goes.
It's interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess I wouldn't have even thought of The Wire as an exemplar of that, but I guess that is what's going on. Yeah, I think Game of Thrones, those have maybe an outsized kind of place because they're such big moments. Those penultimate episode deaths. That's Eddard Stark and the Red Wedding, right? I mean,
yeah, but they also. And there's the 5th season, I guess, has one. It's not a huge character, but Stannis has a big heel turn there.
That's a rough one.
It's upsetting.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I think the thing is, the first time that happened was probably Sopranos' second season, and it made a big impression on TV critics of like, oh, what a wild curveball Chase threw us here by doing it before the finale.
Even they do kill a big pussy in the next episode.
Yeah, there's a big, that's much like season 5. It's the same thing. That's the big surprising one, and then the less surprising one that is still kind of more, I don't know. But then when The Wire started doing it, The Wire was not as well watched, but all those critics that took notice of it in The Sopranos also noted here. And then by the time Game of Thrones came around, like, this is...
Yeah, okay.
It's fantasy, but it is, I can tell it's in the HBO Prestige mold because all this pattern we've identified.
Well, what it does is it sets you up for the last episode to kind of be a setting things in place for next season. It is queuing up the following season. That's how it works in Game of Thrones for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's more Game of Thrones than this, but even still, you are getting used to the state of things. The shock itself happens, and then you have like, and so that is, it feels a little less like the end of a story, and more of a, just sort of things being repositioned on a board, which will then have new outcomes. New stuff will occur because this cataclysmic death occurred. So I guess maybe it's a little less compact and a little less tight as a narrative in and of itself, if it happens in the penultimate episode rather than the last one.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it didn't occur to me. I think Sherrod dies in the second to last episode. I don't know if that was intended to be the most tragic one, but that's not... The voting thing, even though he's kind of sidelined this year, that's his storyline. Like, it is more connected to the central Marlowe stuff. Mm-hmm. And Michael being brought in there. I mean, he's going to be given Bodhi's governor directly after he's gone. So it feels more central to. It can be hard to nail down exactly what the A story is of a wider season, but you got to feel like it's the Marlowe stuff.
It's about the kids, I would have to say, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like one of the kids. It's like all of them, I guess. It gets really tough. It gets really like who has the most screen time this season? Would you say? All the characters, probably Namond.
I don't know. No, I mean maybe Michael because he's being courted by so many different, but.
Or is it Carcetti?
Is it in the B story and the C story and the D story and the E story all are trying to lay claim to Michael in some way.
It could just be Carcetti, though. I mean,
yeah,
just because he's.
It could be, but we're not even considering that to be the story.
Right. I guess not. Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, it's not a structure that The Wire follows that well. Mm-hmm. But this, to the extent that Wire episodes are action packed, this is the most action packed finale episode The Wire ever does. And that also, I guess, helps it go out on a high note of sorts, even though there's so many lows reached by the characters.
But if I'm talking about like the finale for The Wire, like you're positioning this as the best finale or the best series finale. Like this is
season finale
of the 5. Oh, okay, so yeah, with more story to tell, this remains the best finale for a season of The Wire. I don't know.
It's less. All the other finales to me strike me as cleanup for the season is their main focus, and this has some sort of.
Okay.
Some prior seasons, I guess, like were laying a couple breadcrumbs for where things would go the next year. Really, only the second season like throws out. It's almost like the Joker card Batman Begins, where they're like, "Say, hey, I found a picture of Prop Joe and Stringer hanging out. Wouldn't that be interesting to do next season?" But this really is like they're opening up the bodies and the vacants as a case that is not at all resolved, and Michael moving into the organization is opening things up there. This feels like one that's opening doors while closing them, as opposed to just closing them.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. I guess cleanup is a better way of explaining what The Wire is doing with its final episodes. Yeah, I would say so then. I mean, there's drama about I guess the promise of this season is like what's going to happen to these 4 kids. Which one is going to get. Who's getting fucked the most, basically, and I don't know. Hard to say who the answer on that is here.
Well, at this
Probably-
stage, it's Randy.
Right, yeah, Randy right now.
Yeah.
And that is all resolved, I guess. You have endings for all these characters, whether it's an ending or, whatever, but it's endings to this season's story. And I'm almost impressed none of them died at this point. I always felt like, well, okay, which one's going to get killed? And they don't actually take it there, which is nice. Bit of a subversion there, at least at this point. But
Van
I
Bodie's
guess
death is so rough, you don't feel like they're pulling any punches either.
that's certainly true, yeah. And Major Crimes is back open, which is that's sort of a I guess a promise for the next season. That's sort of the thing where it's like, well, here's what's happening next. McNulty's back. We're gonna go back to doing the regular Wire stuff. And honestly, I think that's probably a problem with the Wire season 5. Is one of the things about it is it feels like they're imposing too much just regular story, maybe a little bit. I mean, we'll see. It's been a minute on that one.
Well, we're going to talk about season 5. I've seen one that I have watched significantly less than all the others because I think I rewatched the entire series a couple of times as new seasons would premiere, and I have not done a full series revisit in quite some time. So we will definitely be talking about final seasons of TV shows too in that context.
Yeah, is there a chance this is going to actually be pretty close, to the standard that we're used to here? And I'm kind of just remembering it wrong because it has the reputation as being the worst season of The Wire, but actually it's pretty okay. You think that's going to happen?
I mean, I think in the interim since 2008 when that came out, maybe
we've had much bigger disappointments, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know that we've had a better. Okay, no, yeah, that's not true. We had a couple of good final seasons after that. We had, Mad Men had a strong final season.
Yeah,
Breaking Bad had a strong final season.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul have superior final seasons.
And Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of other disappointing final seasons, to the point where the final season being one of the worst of the show, if not the worst, is much more the norm than the exception at this stage, I would say.
It's hard to do. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. And I mean, I guess here you're trying to be a final, they knew 5 was the end, right? That seems obvious. They were very, very confident that they were done with after season 5. So that is a gift that sometimes these things don't get. Now, I mean, The Wire
it gets the other gift that a lot of these do get, which is you get a final season and we're going to cut your episode order down by 20% or so.
Yeah, right. I feel like if you knew that going in, it should be something you could work with around, especially in the context of a show like this. Mm-hmm. I feel like it. I don't think that's the problem, but maybe it'll.
I think they do. But you know what? We'll be back in about a month to look at that with the season. And the season 5 premiere will be titled More with Less.
Is season 4 the best season of The Wire?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. But we'll do a official ranking after that.
Cool.